And I'm sure we'll have some more people hop on here with us as we go about the day or our conversations. I'm going to give you guys a choice. If you want, I have a slide deck. I put a slide deck together, and for whatever reason, as I was kind of like breathing and thinking and prepping for our time together, like I got kind of the nudge to just go for it. So the conversation can kind of evolve and we could be more collaborative. So if you want to put in the chat, do you prefer a slide deck and some structure? Or, I mean, I'll stick to the same structure, obviously, but is the slide deck helpful for you? Or would you prefer that we just kind of have a conversation and collaborate together? So just let me know in the chat what works best for you. Like I said, I went into the day planning on giving you a slide deck, but it just sort of happened. Camille says she's good with whatever. Anybody else? Nina is good with whatever. Game on. Michelle says she loves a slide deck. Well, Michelle, if you love a slide deck, we're going to give it to you, my friend. We're going to do it. So I'm going to share my screen and make sure. Let's see. I'm going to give this over here. Can we see this? How to build a powerful network without painful. Can you guys see this? Yes, Dora. Thank you. Perfect. I'm in a waiting room. Awesome, Michelle. I'm here waiting for something good and not something no fun, like the doctor or something like that. So thank you for letting us know. Okay. Well, fantastic. Well, before we start again, I'm going to drive us through. We're going to have a conversation. And like I said, I want this to be as collaborative as you guys want to be. So if you want to have a conversation, you want to unmute yourself, you want to ask questions, that really is my intention here today. I create the, I create the slide deck because I know so many of you are visual learners. Back in the day, I used to just teach, and so many people were like, do you have this written down somewhere? So I created this, but I'm totally open to letting this conversation go wherever the conversation goes. So feel free, if you want to ask a question, give us your input, share an experience. You can pop it into the chat, or of course you can unmute and have a conversation. So today we're going to talk about how do we build a powerful network without painful networking events that force referral passing and surface level conversations. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about me as we go and why I feel so strongly about this. But if you're wondering, like, hey, either you got served an ad or somebody reached out to you, it was probably me, and said, hey, we're hosting this really fantastic event. I want you to be a part of it. And it's really because you are a woman leader who understands the power of a strong network in an inner circle, but maybe you're struggling to find the right place to go to find your people, right? You're like, there's people everywhere, right? Billions with a B, but it's like, where are my people? Where are my people who I feel comfortable with, who I feel safe with, who I feel like I can be myself with, who I feel like I can share ideas with, who I feel like I can, really be all of me in my too muchness or my introvertedness or in my great big dreams or my, wherever I'm at in life as it is. So this is absolutely for you if that is the case. So I want to know, how do you guys feel about networking? When you think of networking, when somebody says, hey, you need to network, we've heard the term, your network is your net worth. I promise you, I have it on a slide in here. What do you think of when you hear that term, networking? Powerful, but scary at times. Ooh, I like that, Camille. Anybody else? What do you think? Can feel icky? Yes, Michelle. Andrea says, I enjoy networking, but I'm exhausted afterwards. Yes. I used to be a self-proclaimed great minds get together. So I love that. So Nina has a positive connotation, which I really love. When we do this, we typically hear a little bit of both, some really positive or others. But what I really want to talk to you about today is how do we stop networking and start connecting, right? Because what Nina said is great minds getting together is really what we all desire. But unfortunately, a lot of what's available out there for us to get together doesn't really create connection, right? It creates transaction, it creates networks, it creates contacts, it creates business card passing, virtual business cards, if you will. But what many of us desire, at least I know I desire as a woman leader, is really how to stop networking and start connecting. I also want to talk about, how to position yourself as a thought leader and an authority in your industry, because as you're out in the world meeting people, that's the point, right? So many of us want to meet new people. We want to grow our inner circle because we want to be seen as thought leaders. We want to really establish ourselves as authority in our industry. And then, of course, we want to talk about how do we fill a room with incredible people that share the same values as you? Because for me, when I was networking, and like I said, I believe this is why slides are always scary for me. I'm like, I think I'm introducing myself to you on my next slide. But because in my corporate career, networking it wasn't about shared values. It was about getting business, right? It wasn't about like, oh, I'm looking to meet people that I can collaborate with and build connections with. It was like, do you want to buy something, or do you know somebody who wants to buy something, right? And to me, that's what we mean by networking. And what we want to talk about today is building that network, right? Not just, hey, can I sell you something, or do you know anybody I can sell something to? But how do we build a relationship that goes beyond business, that goes beyond who we are as humans, to really building true relationships? So, is it Alana? Committing to networking meant choosing between deadlines at work and saving face to a small group. Ooh, and nobody has to say face, right? Like that doesn't feel good. You're like, I really want to make new friends, but I have to say face. And nobody wants to do that. So thank you for sharing that. So if we haven't met yet, officially, my name is Ryan Dowdy, and I will be honest with you, I love networking. I grew up in sales. I had a 15-year corporate sales career. It was such a big part of what I did. But I have learned, as the older I have gotten, the more selective I have been, right? Because networking was fantastic for business building. And I love to build businesses. I'm a salesperson at heart. But what I found myself struggling with was finding true connection and relationships, right? I could leave my house and I could find business, right? Or I could get on a virtual Zoom call and I could sell something to somebody or get an introduction. But what I really was missing for me, and I'm kind of glancing over my slides here, but was finding my people, finding somebody where I didn't just want to talk about, that I could really talk about what was actually going on in my life. Not, hi, this is what I do for a living and this is how I help people, but like, hey, I'm building a business and I'm struggling with ABC, XYZ, right? I'm struggling to hire. I'm struggling to find the right client fit. I have this new offer and it's not going the way that I would like it to, or, I'm working with the client and they're a total jerk and I don't know how to fire them, right? Like all the things that we actually deal with as business owners, networking only covers the sales part, right? Like what we want are people. We want somebody to be able to pick the phone and call and say, hey, this is what's going on. So that really is why I created this space and why we're having this conversation, because I have generated millions of dollars in my own business and in my sales career by prioritizing relationships, by getting past the networking of referral passing, but really, truly building relationships with people, getting to know them as human beings. I love what Michelle says here. I'm not comfortable leading with my business. The connection has to come first. Right. And I think that's really important, but not a lot of people feel that way. Right. Like, so that's really what we're going to talk about today. So why do you care? And I said it before, your network is your net worth. I know it's cliche. I know, I agree, but it's true. But what I think so many networking organizations get wrong is they focus on quantity rather than quality. And what we want, because we're busy, successful people running businesses, having successful careers, moving fast, we want quality. Right? We want to build relationships versus contacts. I posted something on social media recently that ruffled a few feathers where I was like, I don't want a Rolodex full of business cards. I want people's phone numbers in my phone that I could pick them up and call them. Right? I want to be able to send a text message to somebody, and say, hey, who do you know? So really I know that you desire that because you're here too. And I truly believe that your next opportunity is only one relationship away. So today, what we're going to talk about is how do we change the way we view building our inner circle, or rather stop networking and actually start building that inner circle. So first things first, how do we stop networking and start connecting, right? That's really what we all want to do. Michelle nailed it right here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to focus on person to person or human to human. That's what my P2P or H to H means, right? Because again, so much networking is not about that. It's about who, oh, I do this and I do so, I do that, instead of who are you as a person? What's important to you? What makes you tick? Those types of things. So when we get past, so if you're in a group of people, whether it's virtual, whether it's a one-on-one coffee chat, whether it's a group, whether it's in person, instead of what do you do, which was always my default question for a very long time, I like to ask different questions. Simple things like, what are you most excited about right now? Or, if I'm somewhere in person and I am local with somebody, I'll ask them, their favorite thing. If I'm at an event that maybe we paid to, it's like, hey, what prompted you to buy a ticket to this event? Or if I am at, something here locally in Kansas City where I live, I'll ask, what's your favorite thing about living in Kansas City? And there's two reasons I really love doing this. One, it gets past, what do you do? Because that's boring. And two, it surprises people. It's a pattern interrupt. Uh-oh, my dog's going to bark at you here in just a minute. It's a pattern interrupt. So people are so used to hearing the same questions over and over again, having the same watered down kind of conversations. And so people are going to be like, oh, this person is different. This person is interesting. This person is interested in me. And that's automatically going to set you apart from everybody else that's out there. And really focusing on that whole person. And I'm always focused on what is in it for them, right? Whenever I meet somebody new, I always go into the conversation. What is in it for them? How can I help this person? Because when we come, it's a Zig Ziglar quote, and I have a love-hate relationship with Zig, but we'll talk about that another day, where he says, if you help enough other people in life get what they want, you'll get what you want. And I believe that that is really the power of connection, right? The power of connection is, how can I serve you? How can I help you? And sometimes, and this is where people get caught up, we're like, well, if I don't know them, Ryan, how do I help them? Like, I don't know. Sometimes just listening to somebody talk is helpful, is valuable. Do you know how many people like don't have somebody in their life who they can just talk to, that just listens to them, that just sees them? I will give you a perfect example. Tuesday night, I hosted an event here in Kansas City. One of the things we do with Be in the Room, we have some local markets planted across the country. And we get together, once a month. And one of the women, she was new to our group, and she was just like, I needed this conversation so badly. I had a crappy day at work. A team member or somebody that I work with said that I wasn't a good team player. And I just had a crappy day. And it is so fantastic to just have a conversation with other women that really understand that and get that. And so to me, that's what connection is, because we didn't just ask her what she did for a living and all that stuff. Like we gave her space to talk about having a crappy day. And to me, that's where the connection happens, right? Because it's like, well, why was your day crappy? What happened? What went wrong? Oh, right. And we start problem solving together, and we get past networking. What do you do? Who can I refer to you? Into like, how do we serve one another? And when we bring that energy into any relationship, whether it's one-on-one or group, that's where the magic happens. And that's where we really start to build really true connection, which I think is super, super important for so many of us. So I used to say this all the time. I started my career as an entrepreneur teaching sales to new entrepreneurs, and have evolved over time to now leading Be in the Room, which is our mastermind for women business owners. But I also lead a marketing agency with my team. But I've said this over and over again, that our most basic human needs are to feel seen, heard, and understood. Right? To feel seen, heard, and understood. So how do we get past networking and get into connection? Is to see people, to hear them, to tell them that you understand them. The perfect example of the woman, Cindy, who had a crappy day, right? Someone else was able to hop in and be like, oh my gosh, I've totally been in that situation before. Here's how I handled it, right? And all of a sudden, we go from having surface level conversations to having meaningful conversations. This woman went on to share that she's in a career where a lot of the people she works with are much younger. And so she's the oldest person in the office, and she feels, there's a generational difference. There's difference in how they do business. There's a difference in values, and she's really struggling in her workplace. And the reason I'm telling you the story is because at a traditional networking event, we would have never got there, right? Cindy would have had to keep her mask on and pretend to be the bravest version of herself and, go out into the world and shake hands. But instead, she was really able to let her guard down. And we do that by helping people feel seen, heard, and understood. And as soon as somebody puts their guard down and starts sharing with you, that's when you've made a true, you're starting to build a relationship, and you're past that really transactional stuff that we run into so often. I say that the older I get, the less tolerance I have for small talk. Like, I don't want to talk about the weather. I want to talk about, like, why could you not sleep last night? And I can be a little intense sometimes with people because, nobody wants to share why they couldn't sleep last night with a stranger. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to have more meaningful conversations, but I find that most people are really hungry for that too. And that surface level stuff is often just old school, like, hey, this is the way we've always done it. So what do we focus on when we meet somebody new? One, any way we can find shared values, right? Any way we find shared values, we're going to start to create connection. So maybe it is the room that you're in. Maybe it's just your likeness as entrepreneurs, or your likeness as moms, or your likeness as, whatever the commonality is, finding those shared values. And
I hear this in the background. It's like how you make connections and that.
Sorry, grab that mute button real fast. Get everybody muted. I'm more than happy if you unmute, want to have a conversation, but I have the attention span of a small child, and I'm very easily distracted. So I have to mute people. But the vibe check is so important, and learning to trust your gut. And this was something I told you, I love networking, and I networked for years, and I did not learn this until recently. If like for some reason you don't want to talk to that person, there is a reason. That is almost always your gut or your intuition. If the values just feel off, if you're like, I don't know if I vibe with this person, I don't know if we gel, something is off, trust that, please. But also on the flip side, if you're like, oh my gosh, I want to learn more about this person, lean into that. And when, again, because typically that's our intuition pulling us to people. And when we're pulled together with people, again, we start to create more of that connection. And then of course, focusing on how can I serve? So when we enter into any exchange where we're meeting new humans, and I don't care what environment it's on, if we focus on shared values, vibe check, how can I serve? We're instantly going to get past that really transactional, I live in Kansas City, so we're still riding high on a Super Bowl win 6 weeks later, right? And those types of things, but like that's what people talk about. Let's talk about the Chiefs. Let's talk about baseball. It's Royals opening day today, right? Like, but getting past that into like who you are as a human, and permission to do that. Because like I said, if you have not networked a lot, or you've networked and you're like, oh, it just feels gross, that's typically why. So this is how we really get past networking into like a deeper connection. So any thoughts, questions, feedback? Anybody have anything you want to share on this topic, or that's worked well for you?
I think if I could just share, I think the one of the things that we have to make sure that we're doing it when you talk about the vibe check is to make sure we check our vibe too, like how we're coming off to people, because sometimes people can seem so disingenuous when they're trying to ask you like, what do you like about Kansas City? But I really don't care. Right. So I think we need to always check our vibe too, not to in other words, I think all of us know when somebody's BSing.
Sure.
Right. So I think that we should always just come at it at a really authentic way, or don't do it at all. That's how I feel. Yeah.
So good. So good. And I think that's really important. Thank you for sharing that, because we have to care too, right? It has to pass, what we're putting off. So what I think is really important here, and this is not something that's talked about a lot, is you're better suited to have 8 to 10 really great connections than a stack of 100 business cards. And again, in a world where sales is taught as a numbers game, go out and talk to more people, right? We're like, oh, I got to go to all the events, and I got to collect all the business cards, and I got to meet all the new people. But at some point in time, it really is about that inner circle, those 8 to 10 closest connections versus the stack of business cards. And so to me, that's really the difference between networking is about the stack of business cards. Connection is 8 to 10 really strong connections, etc. All right. So how do we position ourselves? So now we're like, all right, well, I know how to enter a room. I know how to get past surface level. I know what vibe I'm looking for. How do I start to position myself as an authority and a thought leader? And I will tell you, the first thing we have to do is decide, what do you want to be known for? What do you want to be known for? And this is really important because, when you walk into a room full of strangers, you get to decide. You get to be exactly what Nina said. Like, you get to decide, who are you? What do you want to be known for? How are you showing up? And then deciding, how can we share that with new people? And I'll give you an example. So I shared with you before, I, for a very long time, taught sales. And gosh, it started back in 2018, literally all the way up to the beginning of 2022. So for over 4 years, I was the girl who taught sales. And I literally talked to everybody about sales, and I spoke on stages about sales, and everything was sales. And so people just still to this day, I mean, it has been 15 months since I've touched anything sales related, but people still think of me as sales. Oh, Ryan Dowdy, she knows sales. Right. So, I'm like in the process of trying to undo that, but most of us are in the process of trying to lean into that. Right. So how can you share that when you're connecting with new people? I always recommend having a story, right? So my story when I was teaching sales to new entrepreneurs was when people would ask me, what do you do? And I say, oh, I teach sales to new entrepreneurs. And I'd say, what's happening? And this is before the Great Resignation hasn't had a name. I would say, what's really happening in the world right now is women are leaving corporate America in droves to start their own businesses. And so many women are really, really excellent at what they do, but they've never had to sell their own services before. They've always worked for a company where their services were sold for them. So I teach them how to do that, right? And by telling that story, nobody was confused about what I did, right? So even now, if people are like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm the founder of Be in the Room. We're a community for, women business owners who really want to get past surface level transactions and really build strong relationships with their inner circle. And I'll talk about, you've probably heard your network is your net worth, and some of the things you've heard me say here today, right? Like those are the stories that I tell. So people, because be in the room doesn't scream connection, organization, or mastermind, right? But when I tell people that's what we do, is we really are about bringing together smart women to share their expertise, to share their resources, to share their hearts, essentially. But that's really what I'm building. So think about, what do you want to be known for? And if you guys want to drop it in the chat, like, what does that mean to you? What do you want to be known for? When somebody says your name, what do you want to be known for? And then really having that story, and then deciding, how can we relate that to that person, right? How can we be relatable in some way? Camille says, I struggle with this. So you struggle with knowing what you want to be known for. That's so interesting. Anybody else, like, really clear, or do you struggle with this? And that's fun. Not fun for you, but I'm multi-passionate. Girl, me too. I run 2 businesses. I get it. An image architect. Ooh, that's so fun. But I'm in the books world. Ooh, yeah, I totally get that, Camille. A fashion designer, super fun. Being multi-passionate is hard. I'm sure, I don't know if you know your human design, but if you do, if you're, yeah, ditto. I'm a manifesting generator as well. And like, I'm not meant to do one thing. So that's customer experience, transformer, multi-passionate generator. Oh my gosh, this is so good. But yeah, like, come up with this story. So maybe, Camille, if you can find a way, like, why books are your thing and how you work those other things together. I'm looking at how to shine the light on the relevant things at the time for what I'm known for. Ooh, Kristen, tell us more in the chat what you're known for. We can talk about it. We can brainstorm it. All right. So what are people attracted to? So when we go out into the world and meet new people, what are people attracted to? They're attracted to confidence. People are attracted to confidence. Please don't mistake confidence for extroverted. Okay? Because just because you're the loudest person in the room doesn't mean you're the most confident person in the room. Sometimes confidence is quiet. Sometimes confidence is strong, right? So don't mistake that the person who's the loudest in the room is the most confident. And if you're over there thinking, oh my gosh, I'm an introvert, what am I going to do? Like, it doesn't, like, you can still portray strong confidence in your skills without being an extrovert. Nina says, I'm known for helping women transcend their shame and unwanted behaviors. Ooh, so good. People are also attracted to people who are having fun. People who are having fun. And it's so fascinating because of that same event, my friend Cindy had shared about how she was struggling at work. We also had a conversation about, like, what is fun these days? Like, as a mom and a business owner and a busy human, like, what is fun? How do we even do that anymore? But I've had to really, like, redefine fun for myself and realize that things like this, like being here with you guys, teaching, having this conversation, this is fun for me. And just because my version of fun doesn't look like everybody else's doesn't mean that it's not fun. But when people are having fun, people want to be around them, right? Like, you have been in that room where you're like, and the Harry Met Sally, like, I'll have what she's having. Like, that's it. Like, we want to be in the space of people who are having fun. And we also want to be in a space of people who know what they're talking about, right? And this doesn't mean being a know-it-all. So don't get all caught up, right? But this also means that when you can confidently talk about your subject matter expertise, people are attracted to that, right? It's instant credibility. And people who own their magic. Really, what I mean by owning your magic in this sense is being the truest version of yourself. And this is actually why I, as a brand, vilify networking so much. Because if networking is about sales and networking is about business development, I can't be myself in that environment, or I feel like I can't, right? Because nobody wants to do business with somebody that feels like a hot mess some days, right? Nobody wants to do business with somebody who is struggling. And so to me, there's not that in transaction versus a relationship versus networking. But what I mean by people owning their magic, it's being yourself. And so the perfect example here is, y'all know already, I talk fast. I talk with my hands. And do you know how many people on the internet over the years have been like, you talk too fast? I mean, we don't have a huge YouTube following at all, but we post content over there. And the number one comment I get is that I need to slow down. And I'm like, dude, they have settings for that, right? Like, you can slow me down. But if I were to try to slow myself down and like hold my hands in, I couldn't fully express myself, right? So my magic is I talk fast and I talk with my hands, and I'm passionate and I get moving. Like, that's me. And again, people find that attractive when it feels true to you. If it feels forced, don't do it, right? Again, I'm not saying you should talk fast and use your hand. Find your own magic, because people will be drawn to that. Nina says, I get the same comments, right? Everyone's like, you need to slow down. I'm like, well, I had a very large cup of cold brew today, which I don't normally do. So I'm totally off the charts today. Yes, Kristen, so good. Kristen, the biggest one I'm known for being a product safety professional, a board member, dancer, Reiki master, and ambitious go-getter. That is so interesting. Product safety professional, Reiki master, opposite ends of the spectrum. So good. I love that. We aren't going to be for everyone, and then we have to be okay with that. Alana says she's a system builder and she helps. Ooh, so good. I love it. So what are people attracted to? Confidence, people who are having fun, people who know what they're talking about, people who own their magic. And remember, perception is reality. The person at the head of the room has instant credibility no matter what. Ask me how I know. My entire first business was built in person. It was a pre-COVID world. Back in 2018, 2019 is when I finally left corporate America, and I side hustled to replace my salary. But the way that I built credibility is I spoke on every stage they would give me. And I mean this, like, I spoke at the Chamber of Commerce, I spoke at the Rotary, I spoke at, I was part of a women's nonprofit organization. I got on podcasts, I did guest trainings in other people's Facebook groups, right? Like all of those different things. And it was just instant credibility. Like somebody gave her a microphone. I mean, fortunately, I actually know what I'm talking about. If you give the person a microphone. So I'm not proposing that, you need a microphone all of the time, but if we're thinking about how do we build authority and thought leadership, it's the person at the head of the room, right? It's the person organizing the other people. It's the person bringing the people together. Yes. And Kristen says it's a great confidence booster as well, which I think you're 100% right. So remember, perception is reality, and really, focusing on how do I really show this truest version of myself and build true thought leadership and authority, right? So we've talked about how do we get past surface level, right? By really human to human, person to person connection. How do we develop thought leadership? By actually showing up and being ourselves, darn it. And then how do we fill a room with people, with incredible people who share the same values as you? And this was, like I said, at the very beginning of our conversation here today, for me, was my biggest challenge. I was surrounded by humans and I felt alone all of the time. Surrounded by humans, right? Giant Facebook group, lots of friends, lots of family, lots of people. But what was missing was that same like shared value, my people, the place where I could take the mask off or put down the bag of rocks, right? Because the real magic in building your network is that, when we really get past surface level business card passing, we get to hand select our inner circle and we get to build our own room, right? Obviously, I have a business name called Be in the Room. So for me, I know that that's so important. How do we build those 8 to 10 solid connections? That's where the magic is as we start hand selecting. So the first thing we have to do is decide, who do we want to be in our room? Right? Like when I was networking in sales, nobody told me that. Like, I know it seems obvious at this point in my life, but who do you want to be in your room? For me, I want potential clients for sure, right? But I also want people who can introduce me to the right people. Right? I want people in parallel industries that we can share ideas and we can collaborate and we can, really kind of mastermind together. I want people who serve who I serve, because again, networking is just the first bullet, potential clients, but real connection and collaboration are those other 3 points, right? People who can say, "Ooh, you need to meet my friend Nina, she's brilliant. You should have her on your podcast. You guys would have a great conversation." Or, "Ooh, Andrea is fantastic at fashion. She's really great. She would be a great sponsor for your event," or whatever the case may be, right? But we really want to be intentional with who do we need in our room, right? Like, who are our people professionally? Also, other things that are really important that are less tangible is people who are smarter than you. We often say that at Be in the Room, we save women from being the smartest person in the room, right? I always want to be in a room full of people that are smarter than me. I'm constantly curating people that are smarter than me. I want people in different industries than me, right? Online marketing has taught us that we need to niche down, right? We're like, niche down, niche down, niche down. But we get in this space where we're so niched that everybody's saying the same thing, right? I call it the echo chamber of social media, right? We're like, of course, everybody in your news feeds agrees with you, right? Because it's been curated that way. But what I want is I want people in different industries. Like our community director program, we're not going to talk about it today, but we have a program where we help women launch their own communities in their home cities. But like, I want people in different industries. I want to learn different things about them. So when we started the community director program, I was talking to a girlfriend of mine who works in real estate, and we put together our community director compensation plan by learning what they do in real estate, right? Like I would have never got that if I'd gone to somebody else who ran a women's organization and said, hey, how do you do this, this, and this? Nobody would have given me the idea that my girlfriend in real estate gave me, right? Because completely different industry. People who have complementary experience, right? So again, when I was teaching sales, I wanted people who were really excellent copywriters, right? I wanted people who were really excellent marketers. I needed funnel builders, right? I always look for people that are in different industries, not just so I know like, hey, what's going on, but also can get new ideas and perspectives. Because as much as I spend time on the internet, I want to know what's going on in mortgage, right? I want to know what's going on in more traditional businesses than mine. Like I want to know what's going on in the med spa industry, because you never know what ideas you'll glean. People who do what you want to do, right? Not just what you do, but people who do what you want to do. I constantly want to be surrounded by people who are doing really cool things. And I'm like, ooh, like my big picture vision for myself is I want to speak and write books. Like that's what I want to do. So I'm always like, anytime I can find somebody or a space full of people that's what they do, I'm like, oh, I want to talk to these people. What do they do? How do they create this life, right? And then people who can get you into the rooms you want to be in, right? People who say, oh, you should be at this event, or oh, I'm hosting this thing, you should come, right? Because when we really start to think about what rooms do I want to be in and who can get me in, it becomes so much easier to start choosing those people that are a good fit for us instead of just networking with everybody. So, everybody else on the world is telling you, go to networking events, meet more people, and promise you when I was teaching sales to new entrepreneurs, that was my message. Go talk to as many people as possible. But there comes a point in time in your career where you don't have time for that. You don't have time to take 47 coffee chats a week. You need to be more strategic about who your inner circle is, who you're building, who you're bringing around you, or who you're building your circle around. Because remember, it's not, pushing too many buttons. This is why the slideshow can be a problem sometimes. It's not what you know, it's who you know. We've all heard that over and over and over again. Yet we still somehow, some way live in a society where you're like, ooh, you want to be better at business? You should buy another coaching program. Or, ooh, you want to do something different? You should get a master's degree, right? Like we keep telling people, learn more, learn more, learn more. What I'm telling you is you got to go out and you got to find the right people. You have to curate that inner circle for you. You have to be in that space full of like-minded people. You have to really be intentional about that, because it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I've proven that through a massive reinvention in 2022 that allowed me to land on my feet because of my inner circle. So we talked about how do we get past, surface level connection by focusing on the human. Right? How do we build thought leadership and authority? By being ourselves, damn it, and deciding what we want to know for. And then how do we hand select? We first have to decide who could we benefit from knowing, and then we need to work our way into those rooms through networking. It's about finding how do we know those people, right? And if you're like, okay, great, but still, where are the humans? I couldn't find a way to teach that, no matter how hard I try. There was no way to put a slide out there about how to meet those people. But I do have an invitation for you. If you're like, yes, this is how I want to intentionally grow my career and grow my business. I want to mastermind with smart people. I want to network with smart people. I want to be in the right room. I have an invitation for you, which is to join us and be in the room. And we like to say that we are the only relationship-focused community for smart, successful women leaders, because we are all about collaboration, about connection, about learning from one another, personal development, professional development, becoming the best version of ourselves while we create this massive, fun inner circle that helps us get where we want to go and be who we want to be. So who is being in the room for? Women business owners and leaders. Right? Women business owners and leaders. It's very important to me. We do not put parameters on our membership. We do it as a vibe check more than anything else. And let me tell you why. So in 2021, I ran a business with a business partner, and that year we hit $1.2 million in revenue. And so there's a lot of rooms that, once you make $1 million, you get to be in these rooms. And I got into those rooms, and I will be really honest with you. It wasn't really all that magical. There is not something magical that happens to you all of a sudden because you make $1 million. And we're taught that, right? We're taught like, oh, once, there's organizations where you have to be an executive, or you have to have 15 years of experience, or you have to make X amount of dollars. And to me, that's not an indicator of like who you are as a human and who you are, the value you bring. Because we have women in our community that make way over $1 million. We have a new set of problems in $1 million room. Yes, but they really aren't that different, right? I mean, the problems of 600 ain't that different than a million, right? But we're taught that something magical would happen. So we're looking more for women who want to become the best version of themselves, right? Women who are tired of being the smartest person in the room, women who value connection and collaboration, women who have outgrown their peer groups, right? I never in a million years anticipated that I would feel so alone in my entrepreneurial journey, despite being surrounded by people. But what happened was the more successful I became, the less connection I could find, the less support I could find, right? The less people who were sympathetic or empathetic to my problems, because it's like, oh, you're successful, you have it all figured out, right? And your problems no longer are valid because you're successful, right? We really believe that the women in our space have a true desire to do things differently than they said you should, right? Women who are like, I see the society programmed, prescribed version of success, and I don't want it, but I'm going to go find success my own way. And women who believe that women are wildly powerful and know that that's where the magic happens when we bring together smart, successful women, women who understand that women are not our competition. Women are not our competition at all, right? That is who we have brought together in Be in the Room so far. So what makes an incredible Be in the Room member? One, a woman who wants to hand select the people she surrounds herself with. You want to be able to go through and really get to know the people that you spend time with. A woman who knows the value of a true inner circle, right? This is not a networking organization where you're like, okay, I'm going to go, cold call my way through the membership directory, right? That's not what we're doing here. A woman who wants to redefine success and have different conversations, right? Like, yeah, of course I want to grow a multi-million-dollar business, but I don't want to work 80 hours a week. How do we make that happen, right? Like, those are the conversations that we want to have. A woman who sees value and visibility in developing your thought leadership, because a big part of what we do in Be in the Room is help our members do that. So why would you want to be a member? Of course you want to grow your business, right? You want to advance your career. You want to build your thought leadership. You want to build authority. You want to hang out with smart women because you know it's fun. You value new ideas and perspectives, and you have a desire to be seen, heard, and understood for all of you. You want the safe space. You want to take off the mask. You want to be yourself. You really want to lean into that in a meaningful way. And some of you right now are thinking, oh, great, but I'm really busy. This sounds great. I love this idea, Ryan. I know you're here. You like it. You're still here, right? You're like, oh, I really like this, but you're busy. There is not a single one. We are a community built for and by successful women. That means that all of our women are busy. I don't have a single woman in our membership who is not juggling a handful of different things. But the sooner you get started, the sooner you start building relationships, the sooner you make new friends, the sooner you get those introductions, the sooner that your business starts to grow and you can experience what we do here. So you're all thinking you're busy right now, but I want you to stay with me. So what's in it for you, right? Women who share your values. Oh, I got a typo in my decks. Women who support you. Space to be yourself, right? We cry a lot in Be in the Room. I don't know if that's a turn on for you, but for me, like some days we cry because it's hard, damn it. Sometimes trying to be superwoman, to be the president of everything is hard. And so we want people to be themselves, right? Resources, collaboration. We want to be the space at your come where you're like, I have a business challenge. I'll give you a specific example in our Slack channel. Last night, 8 o'clock at night, somebody's like, holy shit. We're launching tomorrow, and I just realized that the information in our emails are wrong, right? And somebody hopped in immediately and was like, do this, do this, do this, do this, right? Like instantly she got support that she needed. Women who get it, and by it, whatever it is, get it, that fire in your belly, that desire for more, right? That's who we are. Of course, you want to build your thought leadership and authority. New friends. Does anybody feel like the older you get, the harder it is to make new friends? Just me. Safe space. And then those lifelong relationships, right? Those people who are around forever and ever. So Michelle says virtual or in person. So I'll tell you, so this is kind of what's included in our membership. We have both a local and a global membership. So what that means is we now have, I believe, 9 community directors, which means there are 9 communities that have a local component. So depending on, yes, Kristen says making new deep friends, it can be so hard. And especially as you change and your values change. So if you live in a market where those people exist, you get plugged into that in-person event each month. But most of what we do is currently on the internet. We are actively planting new communities every single month at this point in the game, which is really fun, in like comboing up with the right community directors. So I don't know where you live, Michelle. I can tell you if we have a community where you are. But we do a little both. So what's included in Be in the Room membership? Well, first things first is I did a program. Charlotte, we do not have anybody in Charlotte yet, but Dora would be so excited. Is it Charlotte, Dora? Did I say that right? I think she had to step away for a minute, but yes, we do not currently have an in-person community, but we could absolutely plant one there. So continue to build your leadership skills by leading yourself first. So I drafted a program called Self-Leadership Principles. It's kind of the foundation of who we are as Be in the Room. So that's in there for you. So you have access to that as an educational opportunity. We also have what we call a leadership learning library. So it's all of our expert masterclasses, live trainings, trainings on sales, marketing, networking, leadership, mindset, and more. So you get the recordings of all of our past events, but we also do 2 live education events every single month. So I believe that leaders are learners. That's a big part of what we talk about, but we are all also at a point in our career where we're past the blueprint, right? We're past the, like, give me the step-by-step guide, how to, right? Like, you don't need a course on Instagram, right? You need, like, give me the 3 things that are hot right now in Instagram in 2023, right? So we really try to provide that education as often as we can for our membership. So you get all of the past recordings and then 2 live events each month where we bring in guest experts. Our education is also driven by our membership. So as an expert in whatever it is you do, you have the opportunity to lead a guest expert training. So we want to elevate you as well. We do 2 live virtual connection events each month. And so those are done on Zoom and they're connection focused. We pop everybody into small Zoom rooms and we have really meaningful conversations. So we create that intimacy for my introverted friends who are never going to raise your hand on a Zoom call with 20 people. But if you're in a Zoom room with 3 or 4 others, you'll really dig in. That's a great opportunity for you there. Our online community. So we use Slack as our online place. So you can connect between calls. Again, like our client, Wendy, our member, Wendy, who was, stressed out last night about her launch. She was able to get that support that she needed. I purposely take you off of social media because who the hell wants to be on social media more than we already are? Membership directory. So when you join, you'll be asked to fill out a form and we put you in a directory so you can go through and say, oh, I need to meet that person, and that person. So we make that really simple for you. And then of course we want to feature you and your amazingness. Visibility opportunities. So all of our members of our community have an opportunity to be interviewed live. Or not live, we no longer do it live. We used to do it live. And now it's a pre-recorded session. It gets put on our blog, it gets put on our YouTube channel. We want to talk about you on social media, right? We really want to elevate our membership as much as we possibly can. And then of course we do peer-to-peer support and education. So we do a peer advisory board call every single month where you get an opportunity to get feedback on something you're working on, right? So maybe you need somebody, you want to review a job description or you want to talk through a new offer. I don't have anybody in Akron yet either. I was talking to someone in Ohio, but I can't remember where. I want to say it was Columbus. Alana, is it Alana? I'm sorry. But the peer advisory session. So basically what we have done at Be in the Room is we have combined networking with masterminding, with personal development and professional development. And we've put a bow on it by making it a safe space to be yourself. To make it a safe space to be yourself. That is what Be in the Room is about. So I truly, truly, truly believe when I say we do things differently, we are a room full of women who say, hey, we want to be successful. We want to kick ass in our careers. We want to be amazing and be present with our families. We want to be the best version of ourselves. And we want to be surrounded by people who feel that same way. Because if you're anything like me, you came from a space where there was a lot of negativity and a lot of naysayers and a lot of people who want to tell you why you can't do it this way or why it can't be done or why it's hard or why it's struggling. We live in a world where everybody's talking about recession, this and that, and not that we bury our head in the sand, but really if you're tired of being surrounded by small thinkers, that was my problem. I couldn't find anybody who wanted to think big. I couldn't find anybody that said, I want to build a $3 million company in the next 24 months who didn't tell me, you can't do that, right? That's so badly what I wanted. So I created a community of big thinkers who encourage you to think bigger, but also support you if you're in a season of life where you can't or won't, right? We have a woman in our community. She's actually our communication concierge is what we call Melissa. She's incredible. Melissa has 2 small kids that she homeschools. Melissa doesn't want to build a multi-million-dollar empire, right? She's perfectly happy making a couple $1,000s a month, doing what she does as an executive coach and as a communication concierge, right? Completely happy doing that. She's also one of the smartest people I know. And I support her wherever she is in her journey. And that's really what Be in the Room is about. So if you go to beintheroom.org/join, it is a membership. We do ask that you commit for 12 months. We have 2 payment options. It's $2,470 for the year. That gives you 2 months free. You're also welcome to do the month-to-month payments, which are $247 a month. So you get a choice. We do offer that 2 months free for the pay in full, but the payment plan is absolutely an option if that works best for you. You can go to beintheroom.org/join and sign up right there. It will automate you through the process. You'll get all the forms you need to fill out. And I have a fun bonus. I don't typically like to do bonuses on trainings like this, but again, it was someone intuitively handed to me, is that anybody who joins us, by the end of the day tomorrow, so Friday, March 31st, I want to do like a 30-minute one-on-one with you, and I want to facilitate 3 or 4 introductions for you. So I'll get the ball rolling for you even faster for my fast action takers, because I don't know, like I said, it just kind of was intuitively guided. I'm like, how cool would that be as a bonus to offer people an opportunity to make introductions? But what's important to me is I don't just introduce the women in our community. I am not arrogant enough to believe that our 60 some odd members, our 60 some odd members are the only resources that you need. So if I need to make an introduction outside of our community, I'm willing to do it all day long. But that's kind of just something fun that I thought I would offer. I am not one who creates false urgency or tells you that, I need to give you all of this extra stuff, because that would insinuate that what I'm giving you isn't good enough. And I believe our community is incredible. I believe it's one of the most underutilized resources out there right now as we grow. So what are some questions, right? People often ask us, what are the commonality of Be in the Room members, right? If it's not income level, if it's not industry, what are these other women? What do we have in common? And I always say it's our desire for more. It's the fire in our belly. It's who we are as humans, right? The desire to do it differently, the want to be successful, but wanting to do it on our own terms. Right? They're willing to do the inner work as much as the outer work. We talk just as much about mindset and energy and woo as we talk about tactic, strategy, and like how to, right? We do both of those things in this space. Is this a coaching or an education program? Traditionally, no. And what I mean by that is you're not going to find a step-by-step blueprint guide to whatever. That doesn't exist here. But what you are going to find is a lot of really, really, really smart women who you're going to learn more from than you ever would in a course or a program. People often ask about ROI. Right. And, ROI is so hard to put a figure on it with what we do is based on relationships, right? You never know when you're getting a new skill, a new idea, a new perspective, a new relationship, somebody who's going to bring you into that right room to have that right conversation. So I say, we're not a traditional networking organization that's focused on passing referrals. So I can't tell you, we've passed $1 billion worth of referrals in the past 12 months, right? Like that's not really what we're about because I say it's determined by you. Are you going to show up to the calls? Are you going to connect with the people in the community? Are you going to reach out and ask for help? Right? Because I can promise you, Wendy, who was freaking out at 8 o'clock last night, her return on investment is somebody gave her the peace of mind to know she could go to sleep tonight and she didn't have to fix everything and it wasn't broken. Right? So, if the answer is, can I show up and serve in a meaningful way and connect with people, then, $2,500 is a drop in the bucket for the ROI you will get in the relationships that you will meet. We've helped women go through divorces. We've helped women go through the loss of a parent. We've helped women go through surgeries. We've helped women gone through burning down their businesses. We've helped women launch new businesses, right? So there's just so much value in that I can't put a monetary value on it. But I promise you, if you show up and put in the work, you're going to find your person. I really, truly believe that. We talked about the formats of our events. So we host 5 events every month, 2 connection events, 2 education events, and then our peer advisory events. So those are all virtual events. And then again, if you're in a market, which unfortunately we're not in Portland yet, but hey, we are actively looking for community directors if anybody wants to launch your own community. But in addition to, if you are in a local market, then you get that in-person component as well. If we do in-person events, which we often do, there are pretty big discounts for doing that as well. How are we different? We've talked a lot about this. Like I said, I don't call us a networking organization or a mastermind. I think we bring together the magic of both. Right? But a true mastermind, not like the guru-led mastermind, but like I am a participant in our organization as much as I am the leader of our organization. I call myself a founder and a member, right? I book hot seats. I book peer advisory calls. I book one-on-one calls with our members because I need support too. Like I'm a human. So with us, it's not one of those, like everybody's here to, sell you something, but you really just get welcomed in with open arms and open hearts. And I've not personally, Camille, thank you. Talk soon. Have a good one. Is this for beginners, right? This is one of the questions that I get a lot. Is this for beginners? It depends because we don't put an income level on it, right? And I think it really, truly depends on how you define beginner, right? Because you might be a beginner in business, but you might have 25 years of corporate experience. Right? Just because you chose to start a business 2 years ago doesn't mean that those 25 years of experience go away, right? That's crazy town to me. Or, you might have 15 years of experience in this industry Nina, you said you were a coach, right? So maybe you had 15 years of experience over here and now you're coaching. You're not new. And this idea that it's based on your title or your income level is just crazy town to me. So are we a community for newbies? Not really, because we're not a coaching community, but do we have women who are new to starting a business but have 15 years of experience? Of course. Do we have women that are, new to whatever job it is they're doing now, but have an experience elsewhere? Then yes, of course we do. Absolutely, positively. We've had people ask us, what if I'm making 7 figures, or if I'm already a VP or an executive? Is this a space for me? Yes. Yes. If what I've said today resonates with you and you were like, I am tired of being the smartest person in the room, I'm tired of being in gross networking events, I'm tired of paying $50,000 to be in masterminds where I don't learn anything new, then yes, this is a space for you. People ask, what if I'm not in a leadership role? Because I always say we serve women leaders. You can lead from any seat in the room, my friend. Any seat in the room you can lead from. And then people ask us who else is in the room. So we are somewhere around 60-ish members, 9 community directors across the country. We have members in Canada. I think that's the only folks that we have outside of the US. We had a member in Mexico for a while, but she moved. So now she's in the States. But again, we have women running businesses that they just started in the past 18 months, and we have women running, multi-million-dollar mortgage organizations. So really cool group of women, somewhere around 60 members. Our goal for this year is to, through our community director program and through a couple other resources, top somewhere between 800 to 1,000 members. So that's why I don't call us a true mastermind, just so you know, because to me, masterminds are small. So we have mastermind component in the peer-to-peer education space. But to me, a true mastermind is, 5 to 7 people. We want to bring together hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of smart, successful, magical women who want to look at life and business differently, who want to show up and be the best version of themselves, who want to say, I don't care that so-and-so did it this way. I want to do it my way. And I trust myself, and I trust my intuition, and I trust my heart enough to know that I can do it the way that I want to do it. That is what is most important to me, because when we get in a room together, when we talk about how do we do it differently, how do we get out of the social programming and the conditioning and the societal norms and the patriarchy and all that other shit, how do we get out of that and really truly do business in a way that feels good to us? Those are the women I want to bring together. That's the movement I want to create, because that's where I believe wholeheartedly that the future is women. The data is telling us that, but the problem is that we are too busy competing against one another to lock arms. And so this space is really about how do we lock arms with other smart women and really truly change business for the better, change, making money for the better. How do we empower more women? How do we normalize conversations about being a breadwinner as a woman? How do we normalize conversations about getting support at home? How do we normalize conversations around, asking the tough questions? And that's really what we do here. So if that resonates with you, I would love to spend the next 12 months getting to know you, serving you, connecting you with other people, the best that I possibly can. Here's another screenshot of what's included. If you go to beintheroom.org/join, you can join us right there. And like I said, anybody who joins us by the end of the day, tomorrow, Friday, March 31st, I want to have personally a 30-minute call with you so I can help facilitate 3 or 4 conversations from go, so you can get off to the races with meeting new people, and really building that true inner circle for yourself, building that powerful network that so badly that you need, want, and desire. Thank you, Michelle, for being here. I appreciate it. This was so much fun. Thank you, Nina. Fantastic. We'll see you later. Good luck on your client call, and we'll talk soon. Thank you guys for being here. Take care. Bye now.